We're talking NFL football, one preseason game left for most of the teams. Then it counts. Then we get ready for week one. And unfortunately, if you're a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, the awful news yesterday regarding Teddy Bridgewater's injury, non-contact, blew out his knee, and is done for the season. Matt Verderame joins us, Pro Football Writers of America and Fansided.com NFL director as well. Matt, thanks for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Roger. How you doing?
I'm good, Matt. Let's just talk about a non-contact injury. We've addressed the preseason games and injuries in preseason games, but this wasn't a game. He's just dropping back to throw, and 25 minutes into practice blows out his knee. It doesn't get much worse than that, Matt.
No, it really doesn't. And it's a tough break for Minnesota. You know, that's a team that has never won a Super Bowl. You know, some thought maybe this year would be ready to challenge for one, and the third-year quarterback there, he goes down, and it looks like a brutal injury. And luckily, all reports say there wasn't any nerve damage. But other than that, it sounds pretty rough. You know, when you have NFL players vomiting on the field when they see an injury, it's pretty bad. So, hopefully he can have a full recovery and he can come back for the 2017 season. But for now, the Vikings are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard it's unheard of to cancel a practice. I mean, guys get injured, all the time, and you just move on, next guy up, whatever. But this is your starting quarterback, and it was a gruesome injury, and you're canceling practice. You know just how serious that was right away, and everybody knew it. And now he's done for the season. All right. Well, how about short term right now? What can the Vikings do? Who do they throw in there? Sean Hill. Give me some background on Hill. I mean, can they still win some games? I mean, the season hasn't even started yet, so I think there's probably still enough talent on that football team outside of the quarterback now that they can still have a pretty good season. Can they?
Yeah. I mean, look, Hill's a veteran. He's 36 years old. He played on the Rams. He played on the Lions. Ironically, he was there when Sam Bradford blew his ACL out in St. Louis, and he took over. Hill can throw for some yardage. The problem with Hill is he's not mobile. He's injury prone himself, and he hasn't played a game in 4 of the last 5 seasons. So that's a big concern. They may look to upgrade that position here over the next week or so. But even if they go with Hill, this is a team that even if they had Bridgewater, they rely on the run. They've got Adrian Peterson. They upgraded the offensive line with Alex Boone this year. And defensively, this should be a top 10 unit. Mike Zimmer being an old defensive coordinator from Cincinnati, he'll have that group ready to go. So I think this team can still win a lot of games in that 17-14 range. Bridgewater only threw for 2,900 yards and 14 touchdowns last year, so it's not as though he was prolific. But I think the Vikings are really banking on his maturation, and they're just not going to get that this year.
How about a Colin Kaepernick or Mark Sanchez? Do they go down that road and bring in another QB?
I said yesterday I would call the Niners right now and find out what it would take to get Colin Kaepernick. I don't think Mark Sanchez is the answer for them. That's a team that, to me, they need a little bit of mobility out of the quarterback. They need some playmaking. Sanchez doesn't fit that bill. But, Kaepernick is basically, if you look at his contract, on a series of expensive one-year deals. They could bring him in, and if he's terrible, you cut him. There's no money down the road that you have to pay out. And if he's great, well, then you can trade him and get a bunch back for him. If I were the Vikings, that would be my first call. Beyond those two guys, maybe you call Josh McCown, maybe try to get him out of Cleveland. Aaron Murray's on the block from the Chiefs. I don't think he's really exciting, though. So it's a pretty barren market outside those couple of guys.
Matt Brady here. We're going to talk about this later as well. I have my own thoughts on it, but I want yours. Should the Jets be calling up the Vikings, offering up one of their quarterbacks, Geno Smith, Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg? I just don't see a way in which the Jets realistically keep 4 quarterbacks, although they might. Should they be offering up one of them and trying to recoup some value?
Yeah, I think Brady, it's a smart point. I think, look, Fitzpatrick's the starter. I don't think they have any real illusions that Geno Smith is ever going to be an important piece of that franchise. Hackenberg, I don't think, goes anywhere just because he was a second-round pick this year. But, yeah, I mean, Petty or Geno Smith, I don't know if the Vikings would have interest in Geno Smith. He hasn't shown much when he's played. But, not a bad idea if you're the Jets to call up and kick the tires and see if Minnesota maybe does have some interest in one of those 2 quarterbacks.
We're talking with Matt Verderame, Pro Football Writers of America and Fansided.com NFL director. NFL season ready to roll. I was at Giants practice yesterday. Matt talked to Ben McAdoo, and Didn't realize until I left practice they actually signed Will Beatty to a contract when they sent him packing early in the offseason. He didn't play all last year. What does that tell you about what Ben McAdoo is thinking about his offensive line right now?
It tells you he's watched the same team that we've watched in the preseason and is deeply concerned about the offensive line. Look, the Giants have talent on that offense. Odell Beckham Jr., of course, is unquestioned. Eli Manning. I think Sterling Shepard's going to have a really good year as a rookie to get Victor Cruz back. But that offensive line is a sieve right now. They've invested quite a bit into it. Now, Justin Pugh and Eric Flowers, those are a couple of first-round picks in recent years, but they do not have good players across the board. And so, and you have Eli Manning back there, who's basically a statue. You got to protect him. Beatty, when healthy, has been a good player in the NFL. So I think it's a nice signing by Jerry Reese. Good job to bridge the gap there. I think McAdoo's concerned, and rightfully so, about his offensive line at the moment.
Are you going to pick the Giants to win the NFC East? I mean, how do you look at this NFC East as a whole right now? And Tony Romo obviously goes down preseason and is going to be out anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks.
All I feel very confident about in the NFC East is that the Eagles aren't good. I don't know. Other than that, I think the Redskins are about a 500 team, maybe 9-7. I think they're going to struggle with the harder schedule this year. I still like Dallas in that division. And it's not because I think Dallas is a great team, but they play a last-place schedule. I think they can run the ball behind that offensive line. And Prescott, I think, can do enough. But if Romo ends up getting hurt again, then I think they're in deep trouble. I think the Giants have a shot at the division. My question with the Giants is twofold. Can they block on offense? And defensively, did they do enough in the offseason? And they did quite a bit, but did they do enough to upgrade the pass rush and upgrade the secondary so teams aren't scoring at will against them?
Matt, the Bills, moving over to Buffalo now, the Bills have so many injuries. Okay, Reggie Ragland, Shaq Lawson, other injuries along the defensive front. Have these injuries bought Rex Ryan a little more time? Because last time we spoke, you thought maybe he was on the hot seat. A lot of people have said that. Does he have a little bit more of a leash, given he's already not playing with a full deck?
I think maybe it buys them a little bit of rope, but, if they go 6-10 or something and they have just a disastrous season, I think he's gone. If they go 9-7 and don't make the playoffs, but they're really competitive and Taylor takes the next step forward, then I think, you can make the case, hey, let's stick with the program for one more year. But they've got a lot of injuries, as you mentioned. Marcel Darius suspended for the first 4 games of the year. You don't know when he's coming back, checking himself into a rehabilitation center. So the Bills, maybe any team in the offseason, have just had turbulence one day after the next. And so maybe Ryan does get a little bit more of a leash, because I think you have to understand he is playing with the back stacked against him.
Well, Matt, Jim Kelly's predicting the Buffalo Bills to win the AFCs. I know that.
Hey, I have all the respect in the world for Jim Kelly. Happy he's healthy. But, I think they could finish second. But I don't see anybody in that division challenging New England, even with Garoppolo the first 4 weeks.
All right, Matt, appreciate a few minutes on the NFL. We'll be back in touch, I'm sure, as we get ready to kick off the season for real here in just a week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Matt.